Hi, Jim Williams here. I'm at my home club, Old Natchez Country Club. I'm working on my bunker play today, and I want to share with you some things that I think will help you hit a better, sort of a standard type of a bunker shot. Now, first, let's talk about what I normally see wrong with clients in the sand. The first thing is they never open the club face, okay? And so they set up like this, and they hit a shot, and the club is so square, and they stand up like their normal posture, and they just take the club straight up and down, and they just hit it fat, just like that. The ball barely gets out of the bunker, and they're really frustrated. There's a huge divot there, a real deep divot. Now listen, folks, I'm going to tell you something. You do want to hit the sand. You've got to thump the sand, but you don't want to be steep. You got to be shallow. Being shallow in the bunker is the key to regulating the distance and the spin and the release of the ball once it hits the green. So you got to set up completely differently so you can learn to thump the sand. If you watch tour events, all the great tour players that are great bunker players, it's that thump sound. You know, it's that beautiful sort of boom, just like that. There's never a slamming collision, okay? So here's what they do. Number one, the club face has a back edge. It's called the trailing edge. In the area there, the sole, we call that the bounce, okay? So you want to open up the club so the bounce gets in effect. So the first thing you do is you hold the club open. Now what I like to teach my students is to get really wide and low. The reason we do this is we flatten the shaft angle and it sits on a more horizontal or level plane so you can skim the sand more. And again, that's the key to regulating the amount of sand you hit and also the distance that you hit the shot. And here's something else about that. Whether you hit 2 or 3 or 4 inches behind the ball, that's a really small number for most of you. The reality is if you open it up like this and do it correctly, you've got an area that's maybe 4 or 5 inches long that you can enter the sand and still hit a good shot. So you actually have a greater margin for error. So why wouldn't you do this? Here's the deal. Open up the club, widen your stance, get your hands down low and get your hands more middle of your body. No forward angle. We're going to get the club low and we're going to try to skim the sand like that. That ball popped up perfectly. Landed right out there. I love that shot. I had a nice shallow divot and I got a real good reaction when it hit the ground. So again, let's review. Standard bunker shots. You can't keep the club square. You've got to open it some, okay? Once you open the club, you're going to get down into a lower, wider position. Ball's up in your stance, maybe towards your left armpit area. Hands lower, get a nice wide base, and we're going to feel like we can skim the sand nice and level. And the last thing, and probably the most important thing, if you didn't see it in the shot, I'll just reaffirm it to you. Keep the club moving. You cannot decelerate the club. So you've got to keep the club moving through the sand. Keep the speed up, just like that. That ball will come out great for you, hopefully every time. So good luck.